Okay, all right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Karon Liu. I usually write about food for the Toronto Star, but on Twitter, I've been going on and on about my love of fun popcorn comedies during the pandemic. And I guess my bosses have been monitoring my tweets because here I am doing a panel discussion on the comedy Chick Fight. So we're going to play the trailer at the end of this panel, but I'm going to do my best at summarizing the movie before we begin. No pressure, just the people who made the movie are staring at me on Twitter. If I freeze, by the way, I'm sorry. I'm sure everyone's gone through tech issues with Zooming in the last 8 months, so don't complain. It's free to tune in. So, anyways, so the movie stars Malin Akerman as Anna, a down-on-her-luck coffee shop owner who loses her business and then joins the world of an all-women underground fighting club ruled by the ultimate fighter Olivia, played by Bella Thorne, who I share a birthday with, so brag. But on her quest to become the new ultimate fighter, Anna has some help through the coaching of a surly barfly named Jack Murphy, played by Alec Baldwin. Is that okay? It's pretty much okay. With us today is Chick Fight star and producer Malin Akerman. Because I work for a Canadian publication, I'm obligated to say that she grew up in Toronto and she went to York University. And sorry, that's the thing. If you grew up or lived in Canada before you got super famous, we claim you for the rest of your life. That's it. Did it with Kim Cattrall, did it with Ryan Gosling and Meghan Markle, so sorry. And joining us is director Paul Leyden and editor Kevin Armstrong. Thank you all for taking the time out to chat with us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Alec Baldwin is unavailable. We know that the holidays are coming up, so he's busy making batches of his sweaty balls. And, Bella Thorne is currently on set in Rome.
His sweaty balls are delicious.
Yes. So he's super busy. Totally understand. Before we get into the film, I just want to ask the three of you, how have the last 8 or 9 months been for everyone? Like, how's pandemic quarantine life? I'll just throw it out there.
Oh, it's one day at a time is what it is. I feel like I'm one of the lucky ones because it's not fight or flight for me. We're settled in a home and I have got my family. It's been interesting to become a teacher for a 7-year-old boy. It's not my forte. I'm not going to continue. But I'm enjoying the quality time that I'm actually getting with my son and my husband, to be very honest with you. Even though mentally and emotionally it's been quite trying during this time. It's an awkward stage, but one day at a time, and we're all healthy over here, so no complaints.
Yeah. Paul?
Yeah, I mean, God, it's been crazy here, huh? So look, the last 9 months, we did this little film, Chick Fight, and then after we finished shooting in Puerto Rico, my wife is French, and she was the lead of a new big French European TV series. So we had to come to Paris to shoot that, or she was going to shoot in Belgium. And then the lockdown happened. So my wife's father has a hotel in the Swiss Alps where I'm from. This is where I am today on my second lockdown of the year. So we came here, and then I think I was editing Chick Fight and finishing Chick Fight. We went to ended up in Brussels. We ended up in Antwerp. We ended up in Ostend. We ended up in Paris. So we've kind of been all over the place, sort of dodging quarantines as we go, while we sort of work with trying to make it work with our 17-month-old little girl. It's been challenging, but it's been a rewarding time at the same time.
Yeah. Kevin, how's pandemic life?
I mean, it's been nothing I ever thought it would be. So my show that I was supposed to be on got pushed January, February. And so since we wrapped Chick Fight, I'm now in Paris for the second lockdown. And with a really, really good friend of mine, we've now shifted to where we're making lunches for kids. So pretty much every day, about 4:30. I've been sending all this stuff to Paul. About 4:30, we wake up every morning, making lunches, delivering them. And so I went from editing to making kids lunches now. So that's my pandemic evolution.
Your little pandemic side hustle.
That's so sad.
And I wouldn't change a bit of it. It's been amazing.
Good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, where did the idea for Chick Fight come from? Like, how did each of you sign on for the project?
Paul, I mean, it started really with you, Paul.
Well,
right?
yeah, I mean, look, I'd finished shooting the second season of a TV series I did called Cleaners, which was a female-driven action comedy that was on Sony's digital network Crackle. And I was this script through the producer of that, Anne Clements, who produced this as well. It came to her, and they approached both of us. And you know, when I read it, it's one of those things. You know, in Hollywood, you're always when you pitch something, you know, it's even in reviews, they always go, "Oh, it's this meets that." And when I got to the end of it, I was like, "Oh, this is kind of like Bridesmaids meets Fight Club," which I thought was kind of a unique. You know, it was all quite familiar, but there was unique and original enough stuff in there that I thought we could sort of manipulate and twist and turn, and I thought it was very funny and just fun. And so Malin is a very dear friend of mine, and so once I thought the script was in a good enough spot, you only get one shot at people, so you don't want to blow that chance. So I thought I'd got it to the right place, and I approached Malin, and thankfully she responded, and we continued to work the script. And look, once Malin comes on, someone of her caliber, she's like the sun in the casting sphere. You know, then you can sort of cast your planets around, but you've got your sun. You need that in casting an indie movie. So thank God we got Malin, and then we were able to go out to these other fantastic talents. And then as those sort of dominoes start to fall, then your financing starts to, you know, drop into place, and then all of a sudden the next thing is you're shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Paul and I have been wanting to work together for a long time, and we did a short little film. We've known each other for probably 15 years, and been looking for the right project to do together. And Paul is such a cheerleader for women. He always writes for women and strong women, and so I just felt like this was the perfect combination to have him directing and putting it all together, and finally having an opportunity to actually do a film together.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than sort of, you know, when we're in Puerto Rico where we shot this, to go to work every day and look at your dear friend who you're in the trenches with. Yeah. And it's a battle. You know, making a film is a war. It's a military procedure, and every day there's you're just moving the front line forward every single day. And the fact that at the end of each of these days you could share a glass of wine, look at each other and go, "Okay, we did it. Let's have a debrief. Let's figure out what we need to change, what you know, where we." And the great thing is, we had Malin is not only the producer on this, the lead actress on this. She was the caretaker of all the cast too. So, you know, it was great for her to come to me and let me know where we needed to make these adjustments. So it was invaluable to have her as a partner on this.
Yeah, well, it's funny that you described the filmmaking process as a battle, because this movie was put together during the pandemic. What were the logistics of that? How does post-production during a pandemic differ from, you know, the before times?
Kevin, do you want to?
Yeah, well, initially we finished in Puerto Rico, and then Paul was gonna head back to LA. I went to Texas to start the edit, and I had been working for about 8 months straight. So I go to meet Paul in Paris for, you know, just a break, maybe talk about the film a little bit, and then the world shuts down. And so now he and I on the fly have to figure out how we're going to cut this, because even though our circumstances have changed, our deadlines never did. So we still had to make our deadlines and still figure out how we're going to do this. And so the challenging part was when the pandemic hit, world shuts down, we're both in Paris, he's with his wife and daughter, and he calls me one morning and says, "Hey, we're making a run for Switzerland, do you want to come?" And I'm actually sick at that time, and I don't know if I have COVID or not. I think I might. And there have been people I've been talking to that said I did. And so I'm thinking, well, I don't want to get him, his wife or daughter sick. So I'm out, I'm not making the Switzerland run. They make it to the border with 15 minutes to spare. And now he's in Switzerland, I'm in Paris, and we've got to figure this out. And so now we've got to figure out how we're going to do it independently. And we went through like 3 or 4 different screen sharing softwares to figure out if we could do that, and it just wasn't working. So now we've got one computer facing the viewing monitor, and he's got glare on that. So now we've got to put a box over that, t-shirts around it, and we're talking and kind of communicating, and it's just not real time at that point. But
Right.
I mean, we still managed to pull it off and on schedule.
Yeah, I would wake up in the morning and, you know, have my coffee and I go, okay, well, it's time for work. I've got to edit this movie. I've got, you know, we've got these deadlines to meet. I text Kevin. I'm like, you ready to put me in the box? And he's like, yep, well, let's go. So out comes my Skype. We'd Skype each other, and he'd put me under the Amazon boxes. And look, editing is a really, really, it's a long process. It's a very, obviously, an incredibly important process of the filmmaking. When Kevin's first edit came in, it was fantastic, but we needed to cut down time. And it's an intimate thing. You know, you get to sit in a room with your editor. Kevin's edited everything I've done. So we have a laugh often when, you know, you're spending so much time in a dark room together. You need to get along with someone and have laughs and make jokes and you know, because the work gets intense. And at this point, we're doing it all remotely. So it was complicated. And then, you know, once we got the edit done, I had to remotely do the sound mix. My sound mixes were all in LA. Mike, the composer, was in Manchester. Marlin's sister Jenny did so many amazing original songs for the movie. She's in LA. So we're just coordinating this sort of worldwide effort and bringing these pieces together to finish a movie and sort of put it all together. So look, it was challenging. I haven't been in a room with anyone in post-production. Yeah. So it's unique.
Right. I mean, we've been hearing so many stories of productions being halted or pushed back or just canceled altogether because, you know, Chick Fight is more of an independent film with like a smaller crew. Was it easier to navigate things during a pandemic because there isn't like a big long chain of command whenever decisions had to be made?
No, I mean, there is still a chain of command. I mean, you know, there's still financiers, there's still the distribution company, there's producers, there's a lot of people who you know have notes and have a say in how this movie ends up, you know, finishing and how the end product. So it's still a lot to negotiate and sort of navigate, but you're doing it all, you know, in different. And for me, you know, I'm on a European time zone. I've been on a European time zone all year, and then, you know, I'm you know, doing notes and conversations with Malin and other producers there on LA, New York time zones. You know, so it's just the whole thing has been it's been something I don't really want to replicate. But at the end of the day, I think I'm really proud of what we've achieved, given those circumstances. And I think the end result, shows that there's a lot of love and commitment to this project, and hopefully that shows.
Yeah, well, I think in previous interviews that you know, everyone has done so far with the film, the thing that gets talked about the most are the fight scenes. Anytime there's like an action movie or any kind of punches thrown, I think people are always interested in just how it's pulled off. Malin, can you kind of talk about the preparation behind it and getting the choreo down? Did, you know, being in action movies before help you?
Yes. So this film we made in 17 days. We also had the equivalent of what you would think is prep time for a 17-day shoot, which was 2 days. So when we landed on the ground, Shauna Galligan and myself and Bella got together and sort of got in the ring and worked out some of the choreography for our big fight scene. I personally am much of a boxer. I've boxed for many years just as a form of exercise. So that was luckily in my bones already. And I think that absolutely, having done other films that have stunt choreography in them, it is a little bit like getting back on the bicycle again and just getting back in, although you do notice that your body has gotten older. But we made it work. And truly, I mean, you would think that, I mean, I think that the combo of Shauna's amazing stunt choreography, our stunt doubles who are incredible, who worked super hard, and us as actresses, you know, we were all really committed and tried our best to do, you know, our homework at home and watch the fight videos so that we can get the choreography down, because we knew we didn't have much time. And actually some of the montage pieces, this montage fight scenes, we were doing on the fly. Shauna came in and went, all right, we're going to do a left hook and a right hook. She's going to kick you here, and then you're going to go down.
Yeah.
So it was really, when you say prep time, there wasn't much of it, but I think we got there. I think we nailed it. The combination just worked.
Right. But I mean, unlike, you know, your boxing classes, you're not supposed to hit the actor in the face.
Exactly.
I mean, which is harder, making contact or trying not to make contact, but making it look like you made contact?
I think it's harder to make it look like you're making contact without making contact. It's so much easier to just hit someone in the face. Obviously, they're right there.
There's the pull quote for this.
But luckily, between Shauna and our cameraman, Steve, it was just you know, the camera angle would go to a certain side, and then, you know, Paul would let us know if it was being right or not. And it's just a little bit of a dance, a little bit of a do-si-do.
Yeah.
It's quite nerve-wracking. I mean, this is a movie, you know, it's in the title, Chick Fight, and it's one of those things where going into this movie and discussing with Malin and discussing with all the other amazing ladies that came on board, you know, they were inspired by, like, oh, we get in there, we get to rumble, we get to do a movie that generally is not we never comes across our table. And I wanted to do justice to make it feel sort of heightened but authentic, and give them really, no, I don't want to just get in and do, you know, anything kind of meek. I wanted to look, you know, stand up with sort of good male fighting movies, and I think it does, and I think it helped. We created this cage. I said to my production designer, I said, I want to do something really kind of, you know, novel with the ring. I didn't want to do a boxing ring. I didn't want to just fight on concrete. I didn't want an MMA cage. So we did a cage that was half cage, it was half MMA cage and half boxing ring. So it was almost like if a boxing ring had sex with an MMA cage, this is the result. So it became known as the baby cage. It's like, you know, getting the baby cage. And then, you know, the part of that production design too, with all the lights and the chandeliers, it's giving it that sort of kind of feminine touch, almost like the members of this club would come, you know, we'd go to a flea market, and if they saw this lamp or something, they would donate it to the club to give it this, you know, this community, this lived in feel. But also once you got in the ring, it was, you know, they don't mess around. Yeah. So for a fight movie, it was incredible that all the girls were so physical and were so game and were so brave. And we did have incredible stunt girls to, you know, to pick up the slack.
Yeah. I mean, as everyone mentioned, it's a very like no holds barred movie. There's literal blood, sweat, and tears in a lot of the scenes. But I think both of you kind of mentioned already, like what I love is that it's a very brightly shot movie. It's like very saturated, and like there's like the training montage, a fight montage. Like what I was getting at the beginning of this is like, I miss a fun movie. I miss a fun popcorn movie that's a tight 90 minutes. It knows exactly what it needs to do. And I feel like we don't have those anymore. I mean, was that the point of the movie? Just like a fun, tight 90-minute escapist thing, drop whatever you're feeling right now and just watch the movie?
I mean, I'll just quickly say, look, you never know when the movie's going to come out, what the state of the world's going to be in. So I think, you know, the fact that this movie is coming out right now on the tail end of a really, you know, harrowing election in America and this crazy pandemic, which is not going away. I think we do need a bit of put our feet up, you know, have a glass of wine, just have a laugh. And you know, there are people who are going to have, you know, find this more funny than others, and I just think it's one of those things where it wears its homages on its sleeve. You know, there's Karate Kid references in there, there's Rocky references, there's Fight Club references. We're not saying, hey, listen, we're doing, you know, something so original, but what we're doing, I think, is winking at the audience and playing it all in a likable way that's like, come on this ride with us, have a little bit of fun, and you know, you watch these girls really get physical. Like it's it's a really fun movie, I think.
And also, I just wanted to say that, it for me as well, I love the aspect of the sisterhood that we find in this film. Of course, it is fun, and it's a light, entertaining film, but there are undertones of things that are really important to me as a woman, because a lot of times we're plotted against one another and we're catty towards one another in films. And I just love that this is a bunch of women coming together and, tearing apart societal pressures of like, you shouldn't be doing this because it's not ladylike or whatever it is. And I just feel like it's so fun to finally just go, we're roaring, and it feels great, and we can do this too. And at the baseline of it all is just a bunch of women sticking together and holding each other up. And I think that is really important right now as well, is a sense of unity and a sense of just togetherness and being there for one another. So,
Yeah.
and that it couldn't have been, it wasn't planned obviously for this time and who would have known that we would have been in lockdown, but I think that it just hits home a little harder right now.
Yeah. And there's
And
that.
I just wanted to say, and I just want to say that too, because I'm a male director directing a female-driven comedy, and people seem to some people, seem to take a bit of an offense to that for some reason. It's almost like these days, with all these powerful movements going on, a man can't direct a female-driven comedy. And for me, I think that's a backward outlet, because all the women that came on they were responding to the material. We discussed everything. We're in there together. There is no gender when you're making a movie. You're in there, that no one's doing anything that they don't want to do. And everyone's working to the same cause, which is making the best movie possible under the given and trying circumstances of actually making a movie. So I couldn't have been more proud of the way that we all sort of got in the ring together as genderless people and made, I think, a unique but familiar and fun movie.
Yeah. And there's something always very universal and timeless about like the underdog story, right? Yeah, it doesn't matter how many iterations it takes, it's always something that people want to cheer for and watch on repeat. What is it about that tale that you think is so timeless and like it never gets old?
Listen, I think we're all, it is you I think we've all been down and out in our lives, and that is the ebb and flow of life, isn't it? And I think, you cheer for people who are trying really hard and are working really hard to achieve their goals. I mean, it's why I moved to America, is this vision of this American dream and making it. And I think we all try to make it somehow in our lives. And so we push for the underdog. We push for the people who are not handed the silver spoon in their mouth when they're born. That these are the people who have to work really hard to get there, and which most of us do. And so there's something that we see in ourselves in these underdogs, and it's this wistful sort of this yearning and this hope that they're going to make it, because that means that maybe we can make it as well.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it kind of also speaks to the fact that, this is a small production with a tight crew. When we're doing the pre-meeting yesterday, I was saying that, because you don't have like $200 million budget, you have to like be really creative and use the most of what you have. I mean, what are like the plus sides of working with such a small and tight crew compared to like a super big blockbuster? Because I imagine that you have more responsibilities, but also you have a lot more input.
I think your heart is in it more, to be really honest, because you're obviously not in it for the paycheck. You're in it because you love the project and the people. And, Paul got to bring Kevin in, and I know you guys are really familiar with each other and you work well together. And, I got to work with Paul, and we got to bring in people that we really love. And I've worked with Alec Baldwin before in Rock of Ages, and it was so nice to get him back. And so you're putting something together that is from the love of your heart rather than your wallet.
Yeah.
But the blockbuster films doesn't mean that you don't love them as well. It's not
Sure.
obvious not just for the paycheck, it's because you love the project as well. It's just that you're not going to do a film like this unless you're fully in it, because otherwise there's no reason to. So this really is a labor of love, I think, and that shifts the dynamic on set, because we all want it to be the best it can be, because we're putting our blood and sweat into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a real intimacy when you're doing a movie like this. Everyone, you know, on bigger things, sometimes you don't know. There's people you don't get a chance to know, because you're always, you know, doing your. It's too broad. On this, there was such an intimacy. Everyone, we were shooting on location. We're in Puerto Rico. Everyone is there to do one thing, and that's to make this film. Everyone was drawn to make this film. Thank goodness. Like, even when one of Marlin's best friend in this is played by Dulce Sloan, and their first scene, the first time they met each other, I think, Marlin, right, was that scene where in the coffee shop at the beginning, where that best friend banter happens back and forth. And as a director, it's always quite nerve-wracking. You're like, God, we had no pre-production. No one was allowed to meet, or not allowed. We just didn't have a chance for people to meet.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden you're on set going, are they going to have that chemistry? Are they going to have that thing? Because great actors can sometimes not have great chemistry.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you do that role, that first take, you're like, oh, you breathe such a sigh of relief. You fall off your chair. You grin from ear to ear, and you're like, we're off to the races. Yeah. You know, where everyone's here, everyone's connecting in the same movie, in the same tone, and we're all doing the same thing. And I think on these smaller projects, everyone's more creatively invested, and I think that's really special.
Yeah.
I even add that by design as an editor, I normally don't go on set, and because I don't want to be emotionally tied to any kind of effort that goes into getting a shot, be it money, time, whatever. So I think I showed up on set 2-3 times. And just as an outsider walking in, you can see this small army mentality, just marching from setup to setup, Paul directing, seeing all the performances. It feels very, very intimate from someone just walking out. And then that translates on the screen. And then for me watching it, I then want to put in the same level of passion, energy, hard work to honor all of their talent and all of their efforts. So I think that's one of the benefits of a smaller film like this as well.
That's lovely. Yeah. And I just want to mention, by the way, editors are 50% of why a film is good, because editing is such an art form in and of itself. And if you don't have a great editor, you will not have a great film. So I want to give kudos to Kevin for putting this together so beautifully.
And especially on a fight movie too, because they are, you know, when you do those scenes, you're in, you know, you're in the trenches just getting all this stuff, and you're like, God, I hope we've got all those pieces to make this fight work. And then when it goes to Kevin, and when Kevin it's really, he's looking at this pile of footage, and that's why I'm like, peace out, good luck, Kevin. I hope you've got what you need. Come back when it's good. And then he turns around and sends me the fight. And again, that's when you just fall off your chair, grin from ear to ear, and you're like, I think we've got it. I think it's there. I think, you know, it needs work, but the elements are there. And that's why, again, I work with Kevin a lot, and having him on this project was invaluable, because I could just go, you know, bring it.
Yeah. Well, and why was, sorry, go ahead.
Let's say the first project we worked on was Cleaners, and those seemed to be low budget, and we're kind of up against the clock all the time. And we went through a lot of times where Paul would say, I just don't know if I got it. And every time, Paul's hands down the most prepared director I've ever worked with. And you kind of want to tell him, I know you got it. We both know you got it, but I know why you don't know you don't got it. And on these fight scenes, I think that's what people are going to walk away with. I mean, the heart's there, the comedy's there, the drama's there. But the strength of the women in the ring is just so amazing, with the actresses and the stunt doubles. And I think they all gave everything they had, and it made my job really easy. I had so many choices, so many options. I wasn't hamstrung to do something that I didn't want to do. And that's all credit to everybody there on set.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure a lot of the fight scenes will be somehow turned into GIFs for responses on Twitter and stuff like that. That legacy of just like blood spewing out of a mouth, or like someone doing a round kick on someone's head. I'm sure there will live on the internet well after the film is released.
Yeah, I mean, look, I did love a slow-mo shot. I'm not going to lie. I probably indulged a little bit too much in a slow-mo shot.
I love
there was some blood spilt on the mat.
Yeah. And my question was that I forgot to ask in the beginning was why Puerto Rico? Why that as the filming location?
Well, I mean, firstly, when you're putting together a low-budget movie, you look at the places that could work for the film that are potentially that have good tax incentives. And there are a few states across America with tax incentives. A movie like this, we could never shoot in California. Just too expensive. It's just impossible. Right. Even with the level of talent we've got, we don't have that. We didn't have that money. So Puerto Rico, I've shot before. Again, the second season of Cleaners, I shot there for 4 months, I think, Kevin, 4 months. And so I knew the place, I knew the crew, my producer, one of the other producers, Anne Clements. She, we'd worked there. She had shot many things in Puerto Rico. And look, for the look of this film, the film could have been set anywhere. It could have been set in the city. It could have been set in the country. It didn't really matter the setting. It was about the community. So, when I was chatting with Malin about it beforehand, I was like, maybe with Puerto Rico, we can give it more of and back to your point about the colors and the palette that we chose, was this sort of Southern Florida vibe. It's not named. If you look in, some of the things, you'll see Miami license plates and stuff like that movie plates, but it wasn't actually named where it was set. But yeah, it was sort of, Puerto Rico gave it a flavor. I mean, the Fight Club was a real location that we found. Everything was a location. The coffee shops, the bar that Murphy, Alex's character, trains out of, was a beautiful, amazing bar right on the beach that they built a gym next door. So I think, again, it adds a flavor, and it allowed us to indulge those colors, those pinks and greens and neons, and it gave it a pop, which was really, I think, again, another valuable piece for the look.
Yeah, for sure. And then I'll start to wrap things up because we might have some tech issues. I'm looking at Malin. How are you doing for battery percentage? So
I've got 7% on my computer.
Okay, so last question. A very open-ended question for all three of you. I mean, the pandemic has really changed how everything operates now, and will probably have lasting effects for years to come from the film industry standpoint. As a producer, actor, editor, director, how will filmmaking change going forward, for better or worse? Like, what kind of projects do you think what type of movies do you think will be made? How will sets be like going forward?
I think we've already started even before the lockdown, just really creative ways of putting films together, but now even more so. I just got off of my first film out of lockdown. I was in New Mexico for 5 days. And I mean, aside from all the precautions and testing and face shields and masks, I always try to look for a silver lining in any of these situations. And I think that everything's been cleaned up a little bit. I think that, shaving off the fat in areas where we don't need it. I think that this business can sometimes be quite indulgent, and maybe more people than necessary, and more things than necessary, even down to the catering and food. We're not having big buffets of food that's being wasted. It's one portion per person put in your own little package and handed to you by catering. And so it's definitely more hygienic. It's more efficient. You've got the crews coming in one at a time. You've got the gaffers coming in and doing the lighting. And then so everyone has their moments. There's not as much dawdling, it's just you're in, you're out, you're focused on what needs to be done. The unfortunate side of that is that you're not able to hang out with people as much and kind of get to know the crew as much as you'd like to. And so the personal touches have been stripped away for now. I do think that all of that will come back once, who knows, once there's a vaccine or once this is all passed. Of course, I think that is the heart and soul of making films, is getting to know people and building a community. Without that, it becomes a bit lonely. But I think it's a temporary, but I think there will be a few things that will probably stay. Again, I think that's the efficiency of it all, hopefully. But you know, an editor side and a director side, I don't know how you guys feel.
Well, I know for editing, it's already started to change a little bit. I think the big changes in post is more of an extension of what's kind of already existed. In that for smaller films like this, there's always been the capability to work remotely. And for the bigger films and series where there's 3-4 editors, it's always happened in a post house where you have 2 or 3 assistants, you have a producer, things like that. I'm about to start a show in January, February, and there's no conversation of a post house we're working at. They reach out and say, you're going to be working at home. Everybody's working at home. This company's going to bring your editing system. They're going to set it up, and everybody's working remotely until we decide otherwise. And so, like Malin said, you know, you'll miss that human contact. You'll miss that interaction. Although as editors by design, we don't have as much as the people on set, but you'll still miss seeing the other editors, and you'll talk like this. This will be how we'll communicate for a while.
Yeah.
How about
from a writing directing point of view, it just all comes down to the you know, a lot of everything that Malin and Kevin have said, plus those creative decisions. You've got to really think. I'm working on a script right now that I'm scheduled to be shooting in Romania next year, and it's a bit bigger than this, and it's a lot of extras at the moment as writ, and it's very important to the story and to the scenes and to the impact of the movie itself. And I'm like, well, can I have that many? Are we going to be in a position where, you know, if there's meant to be all these extras and 50 extras in this area, so are they going to quarantine for the 14 days necessary to be able to shoot? You know, probably not. I mean, special effects makeup now is really difficult to do, because it's a lot of time sitting in the chair in makeup. You know, that's a lot of contact time. So now, can you do those effects visually with visual effects is a thing? And again, you know, like riffing on what Malin said, it's a trust thing. You know, shooting a movie is in a non-pandemic time is really hard and expensive. Even the small, you know, if you go down for one day, if a movie of this caliber goes down for a day, it almost shuts it down. The bigger movies can handle the 14 days if someone gets exposed. But a movie like this, if someone came down during COVID and we shut down for 14 days, that's essentially the movie's cooked. So I think it's going to be a trust thing. You know, like if everyone's getting tested, and you know, like my wife just did a show, they were getting tested, and people are getting tested every day, second day. You know, you just hope when they leave the set that they're not going out and doing anything reckless to potentially not only threaten the health of other people on the set, but also the health of the actual production itself. So look, again, you know, movies an intimate, you know, experience, and I think the pandemic and COVID has just made it even more intimate, to make sure that we're all, you know, we all want to make material, we all want to be working, but it just takes a lot more diligence to be able to do it.
Yeah. Sorry, Malin, you were about to say something?
No. If I was, I can't remember now. I got lost in Paul's discussion here.
All right, that's okay.
That's what
the trust.
That's what always happens when I direct Malin and we work. She just goes off to another place, and I'm still talking.
Just glaze over.
She just glazes over.
No, it's not true.
Okay, and with that, I'd like to thank Paul, Malin, and Eric or Kevin for joining us this afternoon. Oof, little brain fart there. Really appreciate it. Everyone, order a bunch of takeout, wear your finest athleisure, and go watch Chick Fight on Demand. Not in the theaters, because we don't have, like, they're all shut down right now, but watch it on demand. I believe we're going to play the trailer now as we all end the panel. So thank you all. Thank you all, the three of you. I really appreciate you taking out the time to speak with us across multiple time zones, which is nuts. So thank you, and thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Enjoy the movie.
Yes, enjoy it. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Right, and dress it with your eyes. Peel off that spandex.
Stop, that's not what I'm doing.
His shorts are so tight, you can see that his little dude is also wearing a tiny bike helmet.
Okay, you seem upset.
Well, my business is in the toilet. I don't have insurance.
Oh.
I can barely pay my bills.
Oh, come on.
Today, my car got repossessed. Other than that, I'm amazing.
It's time for you to come face to face with who you are and what you're capable of.
What is this place?
The answer to all your problems. Ta-da!
What the? Are you kidding me?
This is a shelter, a safe haven for women to come without societal judgment. Come on, Sarah McLachlan.
What you got, Lizzo?
You're up next, Rocky.
Are you gonna tap out?
What did tap out mean? Guessing I lost, huh?
Yeah, but at least you fought. You took a lot of courage.
It would take a miracle worker to help me.
I think I know just the guy.
That's who you want to train me? I want you to train me.
Train you to do what? Ride a bike?
I'm part of a fight club.
That sounds dangerous.
I am sick and tired of my demons getting the better of me, and I want to punch them square in the face.
I like you, Heidi.
Anna.
Okay,
Anna.
let's go with that. You don't even hit like a girl. You hit like a cat. Like a cat that can't box.
Ah. Ow.
A place like that should be about real competition, real fighters.
She moves like Neo in the Matrix. I'm not afraid of you, Cobra Kai.
You better watch your back.
Yeah, well, you better watch your front parts.
This pretty face. You're gonna lose it.
She's been holding back.
I'll see you in here tomorrow night.
Heads up.
Let's go.
Walk away, Mom Jean.
These are tight.
That's it. And then we'll hit the bag.
You ready to leave?
This is crazy.
Tell me